Welcome to the Sober Shaman Podcast, where we explore ways to make the spiritual practical and apply these medicines to the recovery from addiction and trauma. Today's guest on the Sober Shaman Podcast is Soreya James. She is the voice behind Metamorphosis, a spiritual rebel, trauma thriver, and truth teller with over 25 years of deep embodied experience. She doesn't do surface. She speaks what most won't and guides the transformation you feel in your bones. I hope you enjoy this talk with Soreya James as much as I did, where we delve into alchemizing trauma and embodiment and all different aspects of her term, her work, Metamorphosis. Thank you for coming in to another episode of the Sober Shaman Podcast. Today, I am delighted to have a conversation with Soreya James. Soreya, how are you on the just a little farther south in Koh Phangan, Thailand?
Yeah, I am not very far from you at all. It's interesting that that we're here together on the same time zone, which just makes it so easy. And the heat.
And the heat. We just got a little taste of maybe the summer rain season starting to wane a bit. It was wonderful to have a little bit of sun today, but it's been raining a lot.
Oh, really? Oh, we have had the opposite. We have had the opposite. It is hot. It is sunny. I've got the fan on me at the moment, but it's beautiful. I'm not complaining.
Indeed. Thailand, there's not too much to complain about here. We can spend this whole time probably trying to compare who's got it better off. Me up here in Chiang Mai or you down there on the island. But
yeah, I've heard wonderful things about Chiang Mai, but I have yet to visit. So it's on the card.
Well, to jump right into it, if you could give some of my listeners a little background and a little introduction to yourself, and we'll just jump right in and take it from there.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show. Gosh, it's so hard to sum up 50-something years of life. I guess I'm a middle-aged woman who has come out the other side of 20 years of solo parenting, and I have finally taken a big deep breath out. Hence why I'm living here in Koh Phangan, or at least for a short time. And I've been on a transformational journey since I was 19 years old. So, a little over 30 years, and have been through many different phases on that spiritual journey, and now I have the blessing of being able to guide others on theirs. I'm from Auckland, New Zealand originally, so I'm a Kiwi. You can probably tell from my accent. And yeah, I've got a beautiful 21-year-old son. I just absolutely love my life, and I love the arc that it's taking at the moment into the next phase of this, this beautiful life that we live. So yeah, very, very blessed.
I love that idea of the arc your life has taken, and you're in a place right now of loving life. I am blessed to feel the same way. I'm here with my wife and two Siamese cats. They've returned home to the kingdom of Siam, so we brought the cats back.
Nice.
There's a few things that I've read on your bio that I'd love to hear from you about. If I could just jump in and start asking you some questions.
Absolutely.
There's language that you use that really resonated with me, that wanted me to reach out to you and to have you come on. The first one would be this idea of alchemizing trauma. I love that you use that word alchemize, and with the word transform. I'll set it up for you this way a little quickly. So I spent 13 years in the machinery of addiction treatment centers, and was blessed to be in some fabulous ones, and had many learning experiences in many others that were just machinery, kind of. It's the healthcare system. And that said, I really had to watch my language. And being a doctor of Chinese medicine, some places was okay with me saying, Chinese, this stuff. Other places, I had to follow the 12 steps. Some places I couldn't say God. Some places I couldn't say spirit. So I really had to, water things down. So I ended up changing the name of my program to Alchemist Recovery so that I didn't piss people off. And now that I'm out of the machinery, I'm like, you know what? I can call it whatever I want. So I call it the sober shaman, and I do deal with spirit, and I can call spirit and make the spiritual practice practical in any way I want to. But these terms, to alchemize trauma, is something that it's near and dear to my heart. And that was a long-winded way of saying I'd love to hear how you do that, frame it, and how you use that language.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. And it's interesting because I was on the ecstatic dance floor here on Sunday and Friday actually, and I really gained a deeper understanding of my own body about how I am an alchemist and how I alchemize the energy in my body as opposed to simply move. And I definitely feel like it takes some lived wisdom and some life experience on the earth to understand what alchemy truly is. But in terms of alchemizing trauma, we both know, having worked with addiction and addiction centers, that there is a lot of talk therapy and there's a lot of medication and unmedicating and remedicating. And that works for some, but it's not working for many. And what is missing, and what I've found is missing, and obviously you too, Randall, is that we are not working in the body, we're still working with the mind. And so for me as an alchemist or alchemizing trauma, it's getting people out of talking or talking very minimally and getting them directly into the cellular body and into the core wound of where their trauma actually stems from. And then working with whatever therapy we're working with that is comfortable for them to start their journey and then, evolve in their journey. So I always start with breath therapy, and I work with mantra medicine to change the brain and body chemistry, working with psilocybin assisted therapy, with sometimes just with silence, that's enough to unlock or unhook. And then working naturally with the energetics of their mind and body to create that alchemical change within them. And that does take someone to be able to sit in pure presence and be able to notice every little nuance of shifts and changes. So the alchemy is being able to be with their trauma, but also see how their trauma is unraveling. And it's the only word I could put on it, is alchemizing, because that's what it is. It's literally dissolving, or, the energy is generating and organizing and dissolving through the medicine that we're working with.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love that explanation and description.
Thank you.
I have 3 principles that I work with, and the first is that addiction affects the whole person: mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical. And for me, that first principle is a sneaky way of me doing triage. And it's mental, spiritual, emotional, physical. Okay. There's many ways to break that down and to use that as a map and a model. But to use your words, to find what they feel comfortable with. I find that certain people really are averse to maybe 1 or 2 of those, and they really gravitate towards 1 or 2. So I need to find the right language to speak to that person mentally, spiritually, emotionally, or physically, and each has its own medicine. So when you said, I want to find what they're comfortable with, that is exactly what also I have to find what's the language, what's the medicine that's going to work for this person, for their belief system that they're comfortable with. Do you find that that's also part of this alchemizing process for them?
Yeah, because we're speaking to so many different aspects of the mind, especially if they're in a trauma response. Or, I've kind of moved away from the word addiction recently. It's more, for me, it's a coping mechanism. It's a dependency. Like they can't depend on themselves, so they're having to depend on something else as a coping mechanism. I mean, I have a son that was in active addiction for 6 or 7 years. He's just coming out the other side of it. And so I've been immersed in this as a mother. And I've watched the layering that's happened, through the subconscious mind of it beginning with a habit and then it moving to a pattern and then it moving into a dependency and then it moving into something that he was absolutely needing in his life, and how much it takes to unravel that. But I had to meet him as well as, my clients. I had to meet him where he was ready. You can't go straight for the wound. And you're speaking a different language to men as you are to women, to young people as you are to older people, to the different aspects and facets of the mind, and the different energy bodies, like all of it. It takes, as you know, it takes so much presence to be able to really read that person and not re-traumatize or not push them away or not take them into their reactions. Yeah, and sometimes it's just a matter of sitting with them.
One of the things you said, yes. Well, and first of all, congratulations, and hopefully, yes, all blessings to your son that he's fully spit out that other side far away and moving on to the next phases of things. And the idea you were saying, I don't even know if we caught it in the recording. I think we did. That you just came off of a dance where you were feeling and it brought you awareness. And so I'm curious, do you, how do you, I should say, balance that structure of, maybe a very formalized kind of physical activity, like let's say Tai Chi, for example. I do Tai Chi. So that is very structured, and within the structure, I'm able to find freedom. But I also do kinds of dance that are very just more ecstatic and or to bring on altered states, and you go into shamanic realms where the structure is looser and the expanse of where to go is wider. I'm curious, your definition of that, your experience of that. I'm curious of what happened to you over the weekend, and or if you could bring that into how you work with clients, however you want to go with that.
Yeah, so I've probably been, it's not a word that I would use or a identity, but I've probably been an alchemist my whole life. In some way, shape, or form. I've always been a dancer, a singer, a creative, an artist, and working with energy medicine. I channeled light language. I've done lots of wonderful, crazy things, but in terms of working within a structure and myself or with a client, it still comes back to whatever medicine feels like it would serve that person. So I work with, for myself personally, I work with any kind of medicine that helps to move energy. So if I'm, like this morning, I woke up, I was a little bit flat. My mind was playing tricks on me, and because I had this innate awareness, it's like, I know what you're doing and I know what we need to do, and we just need to shift you. I get on my yoga mat and I start to move the Kundalini energy through the spinal channel, and until the emotion rises and the energy shifts, that energy in motion. And then I do a little bit of shaking just to distribute the energy and shake it up. And then I sit in meditation. And so that is one structure or formula that I use. And then it might be like I just dance like a wild, crazy woman for 5 minutes. Another formula might be I just sit in silence with nature or in nature. So there's no one way, and I don't believe there's one way for anybody. One of the things that I'm working on at the moment is writing a TV series, and it highlights how Mother Nature heals us. And I don't know about you, but most movies, if somebody's going for therapy, which a lot of movies highlight. They go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, they get medicated, or they open up a bottle of pills, or they chuck a couple, the pills into the hand and then hand in the mouth. And I'm like, where is Mother Nature presented into the mainstream of through, so whether it's psychedelic assisted therapy or dance therapy or water therapy or breath therapy or Kundalini therapy, like where is that presented? And so I'm bringing that to life and to the mainstream through a TV series that I'm writing, and feel like we're ready to hear that and to understand that better. And Mother Nature doesn't have one formula. She's multi-layered, she's multi-dimensional. So we're working on all the bodies, we're working on with all the elements. So I think it's time for that now. I don't know if I kind of went off on a tangent and answered your question, but
I don't remember the question and I don't care.
I don't remember the question, but I was like, this is good.
So, well, when can I watch it? When's this coming? Well, can you say more? Are you allowed to say more?
Yeah, it's in development phase at the moment, so it hasn't actually been presented to the agents, but I have got an agent that is interested. I'm just writing, like it's a lot to put a TV series pitch together. It's a lot. It's taken me months to write the book, and then the TV series is based on the book. But it's a very unique piece of work that has never been done on the main screen before. And I feel very honored and privileged that it's being channeled through me. I'm just a little girl from, small town New Zealand, but hey, we've all got a gift, right? So I would say that it's probably 2 years before you'd even get to watch it. But the more I speak about it, the more it comes to life. And it's very exciting. It's a very exciting body of work that's, yeah. It's called Metamorphosis. I'll leave it at that.
Oh, so it's the same name as your book?
Yes. Yeah, all the work that I offer through my retreats, my online courses, is all called Metamorphosis. So yeah,
it's wonderful.
Following that path from core wound to destiny.
Well, that makes me jump down my questions then. So can I ask you that question of more about Metamorphosis and the story behind it?
Yeah, it was actually, so I've been here in Thailand for 8 months, and I had a very near-death experience with dengue fever in March. I wasn't sure whether I was actually going to make it through, and that point that I went to in that experience took me to such a humbling place inside of myself, like to the darkest space in my body, mind, and spirit. And following that, this book and this series was birthed. It was like you've just been through a metamorphosis. Like everything was stripped back to absolutely nothing. I lost so much weight. I didn't eat for 10 days. Like I couldn't ingest anything. I was delusional. I was barely breathing. And then I went from there a few weeks later and trekked the Himalayas, and then did a dry water fast, and everything came from my bones and the ancient wisdom that sits in our bones and in the genetic coding. And with the help, a little bit of help with psilocybin as well, the beautiful mother energy to bring this work alive. It just poured out of me. The whole book and the whole series was written in about 3 months, and it's beyond anything my mind could have ever conceived of. Like Soreya did not write this. I feel like the ancestors have come through and written it. I feel like Mother Nature has written this, and so it's a very humbling experience, and it's beautiful. Like I read it back and I'm like, wow, did I write this? Wow, is this really? Yeah, and all the pieces of the puzzle have shown up. The people that I've needed to meet and the experiences I've needed to have here have been a complete metamorphosis of my own life. So I've been able to pull on that experience. Magic.
I love that. And I love, thank you for sharing that magic that you did so well to explain it. But I'm going to push a little further on the magic of it.
Right.
In those states of fever and close to death, something happens. And I would say that most of the people listening can relate from somewhere or someplace somehow. Whether that is imposed on us from the outside against our will, or we are going into some kind of ritualistic or formalized situation to try to bring that about.
Mm.
I'm curious, your language, once again, around, you use the term, this didn't come from Soreya. Well, who did it come from? And I'm not asking you to, well, to where does the muse come from, unless you know the answer. But your relationship to the other, and you can share as little or as much as you want. Some parts may be sacred in between you and it, and or how would you describe your relationship with what you were introduced to and received this wisdom?
Yeah. So it's written in the manuscript, and it's part of how the TV series opens, and that we have this, and you will know this, we have this spark of light inside of us. Some people call it the soul, and it's the infinite intelligence. It's the creative consciousness itself that comes in with us when we're born, and all of the genetic coding that comes with that, as well as our generational trauma, the dark and the light. And the more that I've stripped or been stripped back of the layers of the generational trauma in me, the darkness in me, the more light has been able to shine through, and that creative consciousness feels untapped now. And I guess with the dengue fever and what happened prior to leaving New Zealand, which I won't go into, but the dengue fever took me to the darkest place. And so underneath that, there is only light. And it needed to, I don't believe that it was, by chance. It's like that mosquito came for me because there's not that many people that it it's like 1 in 100 or something. So I believe that experience was meant to happen for a reason, and it was meant to take me to that place. And because it stripped back those layers, like such dense layers, like there was no fear of death. There was a full acceptance of, if I don't wake up in the morning, and I went through this process of speaking out loud. I'm on the bathroom floor and I'm saying goodbye to my parents and my son, and I'm crying and sobbing and just going, I don't know if I'm going to wake up tomorrow, and coming to a complete place of peace. And then the following days, as I start to get a bit more energy, this whole body of work started coming through me, and I knew that it was born from source. It wasn't born from ego. It wasn't born from the mind. It was this pure light that just said, Soreya, you've just gone through your own metamorphosis. And I was teaching an online course at the time called Metamorphosis, and we were in the cocoon stage when I got dengue. So I know that it's divinely guided. My whole life has been divinely orchestrated, and it's getting stronger and stronger. So,
well, thank you for sharing that. That language really, it gave me a little chills in that. I don't know if do you study Chinese medicine at all, or?
I don't. I've studied Ayurvedic medicine though, and Kundalini yogic psychology, but not Chinese medicine. So I have an understanding of, the pathways and the meridians and what have you. But one of my closest friends is a Chinese medical practitioner, so I understand. We sort of speak the same language.
Yes.
in a different way.
There's a lot of similarities there. The
Yeah.
thing that was ringing for me, though, so I guess it sounds like you weren't even aware of this, but it's one of those things that, hey, the truth is the truth, no matter which side of the mountain you climb it up, right? When you were like, how your spark came into you, and you were talking about, your ancestors, you were talking about your genetic coding, you were talking about the generational trauma. We have a very specific word for that. It's this jing. And the way you were saying it, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's like you're reading from the Chinese manuscripts. And it was real. It's like, oh, bingo. Yeah, we're on the same page here. And,
Yeah.
and this was interesting because I was hinting at personal relationships with, personal spirits. And your language was one of source. And your relationship with source, which is very much like, we could call that Tao, kind of the same kind of idea there. So that sounds like your language, where it does have those components of it. And maybe I will push just a little bit, because I always find this so interesting. And if it's not there, it's not there. Is there a personalized spirit that, whether an ancestor or an animal, something from source that introduced itself to you, was helpful to you during that process, or maybe still is, or before or after?
I just feel like it was more a deeper connection with Mother Nature herself. Like the way that I feel about Mother Earth now is so different to before. She speaks to me through the trees and through the oceans and through the lands and calls me. I went and sat on this beautiful big rock on the beach the other night, and it was a bit stormy, and she said, "Oh, Soreya, I've missed you." And I just started crying. And I was like, "I'm sorry, I haven't been here for a while." And she said, "I want to show you some things. I need you to listen and notice." And so the last week I've been listening even more deeply, like, where do I need to be? Where do I need to go? And just finding these places in nature that speak to me. So it's the spirit of Mother Earth herself. And everything, actually. Yeah, I feel very plugged in at the moment.
May you be able to handle the current.
Yeah, you've got to have a strong nervous system, which I work on every day.
That's beautiful. I love your description of your terms, mother nature, and how she speaks to you through these the trees, the wind. This was, I thought of this while you were talking about your description of metamorphosis, and I guess I will go into this now because of the way that you've shifted your using the term listening. I love that idea. Again, it's about that language. And when we put down the phones, when we get away from the technology, when we stop, when we remove ourselves from the things that get in the way of our listening. You talked about knowing in the bones. That's one of my favorite lines. I know it in my bones. That's why. In order to get to that place, people say to me, "Randy, it's like, okay, listen to your heart." Well, how do I hear that? How do I know what speaks to my bones? I don't know what I know in my bones. It's like, it's about this listening. And I love, and this is why I'm really curious to see what comes out of you from Metamorphosis. I think it's perfectly timed. I don't think it's any accident that you're getting this and doing this at this time. It feels like you're going to be bringing up the people you're supposed to be bringing up and introducing these concepts to at this time. It feels like there's a rising tide of this kind of thing. I'm going to try to stay in your language of listening, to Mother Nature. What I've been introduced to, and I'd love to find somebody, if you know about anybody I'd love to have them on the podcast, that are this shift in legality to get into, let's turn this is all woo-woo and wonderful and shamanic and yogini and everything, but, let's get down to the legalities of things. And I forgot where it was, and if somebody knows it, please let me know. There was a case, or it's going through right now, where it's finally being presented to where a species or a ecosystem of some kind is getting its legal day in court as an entity. It's like, well, we made up these corporation kind of things, and they have plenty of rights. But yet, the extinction of fill in your species of choice is getting bulldozed and has no rights in court. So that's a long-winded introduction. How is Metamorphosis going to, and you're from this view where you are now, I know it's 2 years down the road, what's the message that you're hoping to bring to people so that it opens their eyes?
The message is more about bringing, it's further awareness where people, as a human race, we've been brainwashed to believe one narrative or several different narratives around how to heal, around how to transmute our trauma or deal with, history or whatever it might be. And that's very much been through mainstream media. And so if there's a different narrative that's told, a new message that's really not new, but new to many, that there is a different way, that is not an expensive way, that is not putting your power in someone outside of you. Like, even if it's just a seed that's sown in somebody's mind. Because if you think about metamorphosis, you've got the seed, you've got the caterpillar, you've got the chrysalis, you've got the cracking, you've got the wings. It tells those stories through each episode. So the seed is, and there's subliminal messages that run through it as well, of like, you've been on this medication for 15 years and you're still anxious and you're still depressed and you're still experiencing psychosis. Is the medication working? You've been seeing a therapist for 6 years and you're still looping in your story. Is talk therapy working for you? So it's not discounting any of that.
Right.
It's just bringing in a new narrative that says, did you realize that this reaction that you're having when you're making love with your husband and your body's going into freeze is actually directly connected to your sexual abuse as a child that then went back through generations? And here is a way through this that is not in a pill, that is not in a psychiatry office. Here is another way. So it's really just bringing that alertness to, oh, I identify with that story. And that's what happens to me. And I've tried this, and this. Maybe there is another way. And then there's different themes that run through, like mainstream themes that human beings deal with on a daily basis. So Metamorphosis it's opening people's eyes to something that they already know, but they've forgotten.
Yes.
Or it's been shadowed or clouded by the rest of the noise in the world. And it's time because, Nicole Kidman's just released 9 Perfect Strangers, which is about psychedelic assisted therapy. And there's lots of movies coming out at the moment that are speaking to this, but no one's really gone in with Mother Nature heals. Our breath is our most powerful healer. Silence is our most powerful healer. Water is a powerful healer. It's right here, available to us. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars on therapy. You know, it's very simple.
It can be.
It can be. Yeah. And we also, we're understanding that we're working with many, many, many layers too. But this is just an opportunity for those, you think about someone that's maybe sitting in their lounge room, completely isolated, alone in the dark, that what is just watching telly, drinking his beer, smoking his cigarettes, having his pee pipe or whatever, and this something comes in and just sparks something. Why wasn't I told that? Why didn't I know that? How do I not understand that? And what if that's enough to just get that person to make one little difference in their life? Like, I don't know, the ripple effects, I trust in the ripple effects, the butterfly effect, metamorphosis.
Love that. Thank you for that. Well, I can answer to that scenario because I had somebody sitting on a couch while you were just describing that person. And I'm not going to be able to say back your words exactly, but sitting on a couch watching TV, just anesthetizing with your fill in whatever your choice, whether it's food or some kind of other stimulant or distraction. Well, even when a spark gets in there, it's like there's a choice that needs to be made. So you still have to follow that spark. You still have to listen to that spark. You still have to believe that that spark is worth following. And if you do, and you let it ignite your heart and resonate as truth in your bones, crap, that's a truth. And that means I'm going to have to get rid of stuff. I'm going to have to let go of stuff. Now, this is a humongous spectrum, and this is one of the reasons why I love psychedelics, specifically the ones that go into ego dissolution, because they can eliminate a story in one session. It provides, I say it takes a new experience to change an old belief. So if you have a belief that I'm not good enough, then that story's there. You need an experience. Why talk therapy often isn't enough. And the thing about psychedelics, sometimes it provides an experience of, will you look at that? And the person is able to get that separation. And the observer, what some people can do just in meditation, and go, what? I'm so silly. But again, and this is a long-winded way of asking one of the things that I noticed you had written down, because it's a big subject and I can talk about this subject forever, which is, if I am going to let go has 1,000 different tributaries. Forgiveness, ego, anger, and the whole 9 yards. It all goes to grief. And one of the questions I saw you had written down, which I'm fascinated by, which is, why do you say that people have more fear of grief than they do of death? And I think that'll be a great way to go into this subject.
You want me to answer that question?
Or pick it up anywhere you like.
I have had personal experiences of so much grief in my life, and only a couple of experiences of near death, but not death itself. So I can't answer from the lived experience of death. But what grief does in my witnessing of the people that I've worked with is it brings up layers and layers and layers of, the gunk. And it takes a lot of our human psyche and our nervous system to work it through. Like, it literally takes over the whole being. And for most people, they don't have balanced nervous systems or strong enough nervous systems to cope. They don't know how. They haven't been shown or taught how to actually be with their grief. And so that for them is probably way more scarier than just, I'm dying, because that's finite, it's complete. Grief is ongoing. And it's like, when it hits, it can be like a tornado. One of the things that, one of the processes, if you like, that I speak with my clients about and that I've personally gone through a lot is to sit still in the grief, because most people, grief will hit and they go and avoid in any way they can, or they spiritually bypass it, or whatever it is. Whereas when you sit in it and just stay completely still and silent, it will pass through in no more than 7 days. And then you find the joy and the bliss and the gift in it. And that's what most people can't do, don't have the time to do, the resources. So that's why I believe humanity is in such a mess at the moment, because we're all deeply grieving and we don't have space, time, or energy to be with it. One of the things that I also wanted to add, Randall, about the person in the lounge room, and going, okay, here's a spark. What do I do with this now? I can't afford therapy. Whatever it is. The TV series has an app companion that goes with it. And this is why it's so unique. So at the end of each episode, there's a QR code. They just get your phone out, straight into the QR code and into the actual therapeutic space that that particular episode has taken them through. So it's like a pocket therapist. So, if they're watching the full arc of the series, they've got this pocket therapist as well as the transmission that's coming through the screen to help them on their journey. That's what's never been done before.
Maybe we shouldn't air this, or I should edit that out. Yeah, well, wait till you're finished with that.
I don't know. I think it's important. Like, I don't mind speaking about it. But up to you. I'll leave that up to you.
I'm just kidding. No, this is a message that completely needs to get out. And I just don't want anybody to steal it from you, is why I say that.
I haven't heard. You know what? Karma will come and get them if they do.
Right? No fear. I don't want to put any fear in it. There you go. What a beautiful idea. I love that. Yes.
And that's what I mean. They came through spirit. I was like, they didn't come through me. It's spirit.
Without as much or as little you want to talk about, your own relationship with grief, that single subject has probably been the most transformative meat of my subconscious that has made me go from one thing to the next. And like you said, it's ongoing and forever. This is one of those subjects of which the word resolution does not apply. Grief. I'm curious as to what's some of the ways you would help somebody get from that place of fear to that place of joy on the other side.
So you like we were talking about, you have to meet the person where they're at. But if I experience someone avoiding their grief or disassociating, I will invite them into it fully. And so most people with their body language will go into a contraction. So one of the things that I will invite them to do is to open. So I will change their body language and bring their arms out to open the chest to allow for that energy to move. And then I will have them do some breath work. It's a very specific breath practice called the death breath. And it moves grief in 3 minutes. It moves grief. It's a profound practice. And I will guide them into actually going into the very thing, the memory, the moment that they are grieving, because the avoidance of that keeps it in place.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with it right now. I don't want to talk about it right now. Well, it's like, well, that's locked into yourself. It's in you, and it's going to stay there until you allow it. So it's a varying sort of process with each person, but I'll use those three things: the opening of the body, and sometimes I'll be behind them and sort of pulling their shoulders and their arms, and it's that cracking open of the heart, like the physical heart break. And, getting their chin up and their heart open and getting them to make sound. And most people will go there. I mean, they're coming to me for a reason. I'm not a talk therapist. I'm a somatic therapist. So they know that they're going to move it through their body. But yeah, grief is deep, and it sits in the bones, and it causes things like arthritis and all these osteo problems and skeletal problems. So it's so important for us to grieve well, like do grief really well.
And we are not that good at it. Yes.
Not really. I mean, we dress in black and go and, you think about the typical Western funeral is like everybody's in black and they go and drink like crazy afterwards. I love the way that the Eastern cultures celebrate. Like I was just in Nepal a few months ago, and went to the Ganges and witnessed the bodies on the pyres being burned, and I was like, this is so beautiful. And the families coming together and celebrating them, and the dancing and the singing, and I was like, this is how it's meant to be, and actually watching the bodies burn and seeing the souls go, and it's like, wow, they're all dressed in color, and there's water and all the elements, and then their grief is, it feels like they're grieving in that moment through the joy of it or through the release of it. It's so liberating. Don't have that.
Yeah. The waves, as one of my favorite teachers, Martine Prytel, changed my whole outlook on this from an audio tape that was pirated back in like 94. Grief and praise, the two opposites, that joy you're talking about. But you can only get there by going down, by being cracked open, by going through that process. And again, I'm going to bring in the Chinese medicine. Grief is stored in the lungs, first and foremost. And so by you saying, the shoulders round for people who are just listening, and you go into that, everything gets smaller, and you, as you were visually doing, you pull their shoulders back and you crack them open, and the lungs and the heart are very connected in zong qi in Chinese. Boom, that's exactly, and you make a sound, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, and using the breath.
And then using the breath, lungs, breath, yes.
The breath is very much connected with getting these lungs, and releasing it from the lungs.
Because when we're trying to hang on to something, what happens? My jaw, it closes, my muscles tense, and I don't breathe.
Yeah.
So yeah, that is definitely again, how wonderful to hear the similarities. For me, the wonderful techniques that you just described, and the breath and grief as energy versus having it stored in it's medicinal and logical and energetic, and works all of those languages in this is one place where I take it to personal, in that it's kind of like God. I have to meet the person where they're at. Is God going to be personalized for you better? Is it better to do it that way, or is it better to do it like the Tao or Source, or picking something like that, whatever is going to work? But in grief, there usually is that personalized sense of loss, where if somebody has died, that makes it very easy and obvious. And the waves that go on, and you talk about after the service, what do people do? They go drink. It's like, this is again one of those subjects that I could talk about forever. When I do groups at treatment centers, it's like, all right, tell the truth. How many people were high at the service on the same thing that the person who's in the coffin OD'd on? And I can't tell you how many people raise their hands. It's like over 90%. Because we can't handle it, just as you said, just sitting in that silence. And, for good or for ill, the alcohol, so I get strong pushback on this. In some cases, maybe it does unlock that grief. And, I have people, we talk about, the Irish culture. And it's just like, we went to the bar and, we had a few drinks and, we got into a fight. I loved him more. No, you loved him more. At least it gets out that way. And then after the fight and you beat each other up, then you're all laughing and you're drinking another. The waves.
Yeah.
Those waves. Yeah. That's, big questions, deep stuff, and metamorphosis. There's no way to know what life can be like on the other side if you're carrying it around, whether it's grief or whether it's a story or whether it's a narrative, right? I mean,
well, that's the accumulation phase. Think about the stages of metamorphosis, the accumulation. It can be in the form of the material things like the 30 and 40 somethings that get the house and the girlfriend and the boyfriend and then the mortgage and the marriage and the children and all the things, all the accumulation of the materials. Or it can be the accumulation of our conditioning, our beliefs, the constructs, ideals, societal imprinting, the traumas. So we accumulate. And at some point, life takes us into our cocoon. Either life will take us in or we choose to go in. For me, I choose, like I'll go and do a Vipassana 10-day silent retreat and cocoon myself. Whereas others will be cocooned through a trauma or an addiction or something. And it's the grief that cracks us open. So it's a natural state of life that we have to go through anyway. And I personally believe that everything is a part of our destiny. We come in with this light and this core wound and this infinite intelligence, and then we have this destiny, and life really wants us to reach it. And there's the arc of, well, we've got to do all the work along the way to keep cracking open, to let the wings spread, to reach our destiny. And some of us will never.
Yeah.
And some of us will almost get there, and other of us will crack through and keep pushing, like myself. Get knocked down, get up again, get knocked down, get up again. And there's something inside of me and inside many of us that drive us, out of our darkness and out of our destruction. And that's our destiny. It's pulling us closer and closer every day.
Thank you for that. One of the things I love, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the way I see it and I love it. In your description of metamorphosis, your relationship with nature, this whole process being natural, that's very comforting. And also, let's face it, I don't want to go into a cocoon, right? If I'm accumulating stuff, the last thing I want to do is, no, I want to go play with my stuff. I don't want to go into the next phase. So it's wonderful that you have these stages, knowing that there's another stage, knowing that there's an end stage, knowing that the stages are natural, immediately would give me as someone who would be interested in change, that I feel like not only you're supporting me, but nature's supporting me. Thousands of years, millennia, since the beginning of time, right?
Yeah.
There are these ways that just things go. And so I don't know. That sounds pretty good to me, as opposed to, and this is, again, we're not dissing on psychotherapy, but it's like I've had people say to me, or medication. Okay, this is the way I'll word it, because I have no problem saying this, which is, oh, you want to give me this pill? Great. It's for this, that, and the other thing? Wonderful. How long do I take it? When do I get off? How long is this going to take? Where's the off ramp? Yeah. And most of the time, it's, why do you want an off ramp? Well, what do you mean? If it's working, wait, what's the point? Oh, so I'm supposed to stay on this for the rest of my life?
I'm not afraid to say it, because that keeps us in business. That keeps the big pharmacs in business.
And that really irks me. And, it's one of those things that where the narrative of it inherently takes away a person's power.
What?
And so, but whereas if I have a model where you're going to go from phase to phase to phase, you're going to be guided and things are going to move along and you're going to be okay.
You are. This too shall pass. And the thing is, we're metamorphosizing in every moment, because every cell is always dying and regenerating, birth, death, regeneration. And also every day, like you go into your cocoon at night when you hop into bed. And you go into sleep state and you go into the dark, and then you awaken, you crack open, you spread your wings throughout the day, you accumulate the energy of the day and the people around you, and let stuff through your phone, and then again, you're metamorphosizing all the time. It's little journeys, like a micro within the macrocosm.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Well, Soreya, we're coming up on time here. It went by very fast. I appreciate your descriptions and explanations. I will, like I said to you earlier, I'm going to put a little trailer at the end of this of how to get in touch with you, all the information for you. But before any of that, all of that, is there anything you want to add? Anything I missed completely that you'd like to say?
Just that I feel really honored to be a guest on your podcast and to reach the right people at the right time. I believe in the divine orchestration of anything, and both you and I are doing beautiful work, and we have a gift and a message that many people need to receive. So thank you so much, and thank you to those of you, those people in your audience that may resonate with something that we've shared this evening, and here in love and service.
Wonderful. That's beautiful. I couldn't have said it any better. Soreya, thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure, and sharing this discussion and exploration with you, I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Randall.
Thanks for listening to the Sober Shaman Podcast, where we explore ways to make the spiritual practical. Please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Send me any questions or comments you have. Check out the website, randalllyons.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, blessings.